Let me ask you this, Jeff, because when this whole season first started and there was sacrifices going on, Stiles was the one who sort of put together that virgins were being sacrificed, and he was very concerned about his safety in the world of Beacon Hills. I feel like we're not addressing the fact that someone needs to have sex with Stiles immediately. I don't know if there's any volunteers. I'm unsure.
I can see a lot of volunteers.
Yeah, all right. We'll pick a winner. Raise your hand.
If you look under your seat, there's a number. 64 is the winner.
There we go. You got it.
No, but seriously, let's talk about, I mean, is this still a factor in the world of Teen Wolf, that there are these sacrifices going on, and it should be a concern for anyone who hasn't been there yet?
Well, I would say that the virgin sacrifices are over. The question of Stiles' virginity, though, has yet to be answered, and will be answered, actually, in an upcoming episode.
So stay tuned for that. But, you know, it's also been an incredible season for Allison, I have to say. It really has. I love that she has taken the darkness she's sort of fallen into in season 2 and turned it into strength. We've seen a newly committed Allison, and Crystal, I would love to know what you've enjoyed about her journey in the first half of season 3.
Thank you, Jeff, for doing that. I think I had a lot to play with, and it's really fun as an actor to do that. But I think I enjoyed finding part of her mom in her, which was, you know, she's kind of crazy. And and Edie came back for a little bit, and so we chatted about our relationship and stuff, and I think that was fun for me to find those two things, like her mom and her dad, and what part she gets out of each of them. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there was a great moment. I like that you've done a really good job as a group in sort of keeping Scott and Allison apart and yet not separating them. I mean, it was important that although they're not together, they still continue to have a relationship this season, Jeff.
It's very important, and I think it's that feeling of first love that connects them. It will probably connect them for the rest of their lives. That we all have people like that in our life, and I think they're great together. And there's even in the closet scene, which was actually a scene I had planned on writing before we'd written a single script for the season. I just thought of this moment where they could connect physically. But they have such chemistry together, and they're so good together, and they're funny, and it's those kinds of moments of when you break up, but you remember that you're good together. It's heartbreaking in a way, but it's also fun to see on screen.
Is that why you said boners in closets?
Hashtag something came up. I didn't create it. I just embraced it. That's all I'm saying. And whoever came up with that MTV deserves like a Peabody Award or something. I don't know what awards you get for on-screen hashtags, but that wins. But Allison is not the only one with love on the horizon. Somebody by the name of Derek has gotten a little love in this season for the first time in a long time. I was so caught off guard by how quickly I shipped you and Mrs. Blake. It's insane. I mean, I feel like everything about Derek has been strength and power and alpha, and this was such a vulnerable, sensitive side. Was that exciting for you to bring in this year?
Actually, for me, that is like the most exciting thing about season 3. I always say, I think the biggest fear about being on a show is kind of getting stuck in a rut and feeling like you're doing the same thing over and over again. Jeff has done a great job with all of our characters, I feel like, giving us like something new to play with. Yeah, he's good. And he gives us something new to play with, I think, every season. So. For me this year, you know, exploring different sides of Derek and that more vulnerable side, and you know, finding out a little bit more about Derek and his past in this season has been something really fun to kind of play with. So hopefully everybody's enjoying it. It's fun for me.
I think so, to say. Speaking of Derek's past, Jeff, Monday is a huge Derek flashback episode. What can you tell the people to expect on Monday?
We're really proud of this episode. It's one of the most different of our episodes that we've done, and we've taken a lot of experiments, done a lot of experiments this season with like timeline, with episode 5, which was sort of our Pulp Fiction-y timeline episode, episode 6, which was very much a bottle episode and a kind of homage to The Shining a little bit. But this flashback episode that takes us back to Derek's past is, we're really proud of it. And my editor, one of my editors, Gabe Fleming, did an amazing job with both the music and the pace of the story, and you get to a lot of insight into the Hale family. A lot of questions are answered, especially the question about the color of a werewolf's eyes. So you're going to learn why Derek's eyes are blue and not yellow like Tyler's, like Scott's.
Very nice. And it's just one of the things I'm obsessed with this season, but I have to say, I cannot get enough of Isaac living at Scott's house. I just can't. Daniel, the scene in last week's episode when you and Scott were watching over Mrs. McCall and you were sleeping at Scott's feet, kind of, was really adorable and amazing. What have you enjoyed about having him under the McCall roof this year?
Thank you. I love working with Tyler Posey just because it's great fun to do.
Half the room just went, he's British.
No, I think they knew. I think, it's lovely to work with actors that you just get on with and everybody here, we all kind of have a lovely time together. So, but just working with Pose, and we've had a good relationship, and it's I love being in the McCall house. It beats this person here. Thanks, Derek.
Bad host.
So it's lovely being in a loving family for once.
You're welcome anytime, my friend.
Thanks, Pose. Thanks, Pose. Yeah, thanks very much.
We had fun.
Thank you.
We had game night. You guys just never saw it.
Yeah, I was a bad roommate in the first place. I'm sorry.
You're messy. Very sloppy.
I have to say, I mean, overall, I think it goes without saying that Jeff and the executive producer of Teen Wolf have done an amazing job with casting this show, and that is absolutely still true with the additions of Max and Charlie this season. I think they have brought an amazing energy to the show, and they're hideous.
Yeah.
But now, Jeff, is it true that you had both guys audition for each of the roles?
We did, yes. It was funny, actually, because I wrote sides for a scene that we knew we would use. What's happening to Dylan?
Sorry.
Is he okay?
Yeah. You saw me on the monitor. Yeah, the monitors are super distracting.
I don't know where to look. Are we?
But yeah, they came in and auditioned for both roles. And the funny thing about it is the scene I had written for it was the Danny scene, you're starting to like him, aren't you? Except I wrote it as it was with Lydia, which was you're starting to like her, knowing that I would always change it back to Danny and Ethan. So I had to slip that by the network because you never know how these things are going to get across. But the funny thing is about that is I never had anything to worry because Motel California came along and then the other scene came along and not a word from them. So they've been incredibly supportive.
Which scene? Which scene? The nipple lick scene?
The nipple scene?
I love it. Let's talk a little bit about hashtag Ethan, shall we?
Scene.
I did want a nipple scene.
Charlie, what? Talk to me a little bit about the Ethan relationship and what you like about Ethan and Danny.
Well, I think it's so cool that Jeff has created a show where, regardless of the labels that we might attach to these characters, they all exist in the same world, and nobody's called out for it. So for me, like what I like my guy, and I'm gonna protect him. Or am I? I don't know yet. But yeah, it's just a traditional pairing, you know? It's two people who care about each other, and Jeff's treated that very well, I think.
I agree. And I think we're seeing Danny's influence on Ethan already. I mean, the scene when the two twins had Mrs. Blake and they were watching her, beat up Derek, he really seemed not invested in it. Jeff, talk to me a little bit about how Danny's morality is going to start affecting Ethan.
Well, it's the idea that you can change, but sometimes you need another person to instigate that change within you. And those things happen to both characters, I think, coming up in episodes. To Ethan and Aiden, they are changed by the people they start falling for unexpectedly. So it's a nice character arc to be able to do.
Absolutely.
Especially with the bad guys when they become good.
Max, for you, what is it like? I mean, you and your brother obviously work together a lot. You've got sort of this symbiosis with the characters also working together. Mm-hmm. What do you sort of like about the relationship your on-screen characters have?
Well, it's you know, it's wild how sometimes a job or a story like this mirrors your real life. Charlie and I actually moved in together for the first time since we were 10 years old, right before we started shooting this show. So we had a lot of stuff to deal with between both of us, and it was wild shooting the show and kind of negotiating the same things. And in terms of working with my brother, I mean, you know, we worked on some other projects together, and it's amazing to have like a constant ally. You know, this business can be weird because we'll fly off somewhere, we'll do work, and you're by yourself. But you know, for the most part, for this project and some others, I have someone who's there with me, and the coolest part is I get to share it with someone. It's not like I tell my friends about it and come back. It's like I got someone who's by my side the whole time. So that's amazing.
Is this the sweetest?
I love it.
I want a twin.
It's so strange to hear that, because I'm an identical twin myself, and that's exactly how we grew up. It was having your best friend always right next to you. So, and now one of them gets to be inside the other.
That would
you guys
be
can't
me.
do that for real, can you?
All right. So on that note, Jeff.
Wow.
You know, obviously, the first half of the season has been exciting. There's a lot coming up.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
He's very proud of that joke. He's cracking himself up. I've never seen him laugh like that before.
Jeff, look at him. Before we move on, Jeff, I hear there's some things you would like to talk about.
Yes, we have good news about our winter season. We have a premiere date that we are very happy to announce, January 6th. 12 more episodes. And we've written 2, and I need to get home and write the rest.
Is there anything else you would like to talk about before we move on in terms of another year?
No.
Okay. I'm just checking. So, but before we get ahead of ourselves, there are still a handful of episodes left in 3A to experience. So MTV and the cast of Teen Wolf wanted to give you guys a sneak peek at everything that is coming up in the remainder of season 3A. So take a look.